Live. Yep, mics are hot.
Hi,
At
everybody.
that point, you have a zoo.
All right. Well, here we go. Welcome to the Struggle Bus, everybody. I am Mary Kate. otherwise known as your resident nerd on wheels. Wow, I'm thrown off like crazy right now, but that's okay. The struggle bus is a place where we can shake off our daily stresses and talk TTRPGs. So tonight, we are going to be talking about everything to do with house rules. We'll be going over our personal TTRPG horror stories, as well as discussing our game of the week. But before we get into everything, I'd like to do introductions real quick. We're going to start out with Bobby.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Bobby, typically known as GM Bobby, and I created 2000 Tales, which is the net or the channel this is on. We've done multiple actual plays. Currently, our big show is Sigil and Shadow, which is here. If you're watching on Twitch, it's live here on Friday nights. And if you watch on YouTube, the VODs are available the next day. Yay.
After that, let's go to Nikki.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki, aka Beholder to No One. You can find me kind of not anywhere right this second except for here because I am a recovering workaholic. I don't know how this works anymore. But I'm in all the shows here, so that's fun. My intro is much more boring now that it's not like 17 minutes long.
All right. Next up is Ashton.
Well, what is going on, Power Welcome back to my Minecraft Let's Play. I have yes, and that's okay. Hi, today I'm Ashton. You can follow me on anywhere on the internet at Popsicle Mike or at Popsicle_Mike. If you find a username online that's one of those, it's me. I do things here. I have a podcast where I talk about Pixar's cars and how they have sex. And that's called Written in the Cars. I forgot the name of it. And also I am part of a TTRPG company called Apochromatic, which works with I'm playing Genshin Impact at the same time. Hold on. We work to elevate POC voices in the TTRPG community, and we do a lot of stuff. So go check it out. Yeah. Hi.
Moss.
Hi, I'm Moss. I do art sometimes.
Amazing art.
It is incredible.
I accept commissions. That's the thing. Somebody else talk now.
All right.
You gotta put your username.
Yeah, what's your username on Twitter so people can follow you? Or
Or
Blue
Instagram.
Sky or whatever you use.
Not on Twitter anymore, but everywhere
Valid.
else it's X Moss Star X MO, and that's MOSSTAR. Sometimes there's dots around the moss. Sometimes there's not. Username rules are annoying.
That's valid.
I don't know how to not be awkward with this.
You're fine. Intros are always a little bit awkward, but that's okay. And I am Mary, otherwise known as the Nerd on Wheels or Nerd on Wheels 15, depending on the social media of choice. Thank you, Twitter, for not allowing me to use the Nerd on Wheels. It's the only one that I can't be consistent on, but that's okay. You can find me usually playing TTRPGs on this channel. You can catch me this Wednesday on Enchanting Sorcery Productions and much, much more. But how are you guys doing this week? I think like this is supposed to be a relaxing thing. We don't have to dive into all the crazy like technical info as I'm crafting our game of the week at the moment. So what games have you been playing? What are you excited about going into this week as we kind of shake off our stresses before we get into the nitty-gritty?
I've been playing Sigil and Shadow here Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You should check that out. It's real fun. And then all of us play that. Well, Bobby runs it, but And then Saturday, I have a D&D game where I get to play a bunny who is a monk, who is named Brussels the Chosen Bun. And I love her. She is my favorite. I'm also in a Vampire the Masquerade game that plays sometimes. I don't think I'm playing this week, though. I think that's the only games I'm in right now, and I'm very confused. My brain doesn't know how to comprehend the fact that I'm only in 3 games.
It's been
I was in 13 at one point.
It's been a month.
It's been a couple of months.
But-
It has been a fall.
Yeah. I will say I made a sentient candelabra and named him Lumiere, and he is now the party's favorite NPC because it's that easy.
Favorite?
There are people who already want to adopt Lumiere.
Like, I want to adopt him, but it's not doesn't mean he's my favorite.
Okay, he's not going to
favorite's
beat out
Poppy.
Clyde the dog.
It's always Puffy.
No, my favorite's Poppy, but specifically Poppy from the game that doesn't run anymore
Yeah, I was like, the puppy isn't in
because
that
she had
game.
tentacles.
Yeah.
She was an eldritch whore and a whore. It was great.
Nice.
Poppy was great.
I'm not.
She also talked in accidental innuendos all the time.
Okay, me.
Not all the time,
An
solely
absolute delight.
in accidental innuendo. Everything Poppy said was a double entendre.
Yeah. From what I've heard of Poppy, she sounds incredible, and I love all things Monster of the Week. And actually, one of the things when I was looking up rules, because we always hear about house rules from D&D, but we never get to hear like house rules from like other RPGs. So I was looking up some Monster of the Week ones, and there's actually some really interesting ones that we're gonna get into. But
Oh, rad.
That's
First
segue,
off,
though.
thanks.
Also, everyone read Murtaugh anyway.
That's
I
what
have to
Ashton's been
promote it.
doing this week.
I have to
Yeah.
promote it. It's so
Well,
good.
Hey,
Is
that's
it?
valid.
So
We
good.
all have things. Hey, look, we are a supportive family at this network, and we're being supportive. But anyway, transition. So, we're gonna get into tonight's stuff, talking about our game of the week, and this week's game of the week is the Planescape Archive. It is a very, very fun third-party 5th edition adventure. I know we all had feelings on Spelljammer and Planescape that D&D 5e put out, and this book by Matt Kimberlin, also known as A Synthetic 20 on Twitter and other places.
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
Him.
yeah. They're awesome, and but they created this. Oh, sorry. Yes. But yes, they have created a wonderful book, and it has 5 planar lineages, 13 subclasses, a bunch of backgrounds, spells, feats, and they even created a really, really cool adventure that takes you through a tower that is kind of, to me, it almost looked like each floor of this tower was an opening into a new plane. So it really gets you enveloped into the world of Planescape. It's very whimsical, but they did such a magnificent job on this book. The NPCs that they created, they have a really nice fleshed out non-binary NPC. I have fallen in love through reading this book, but you can find it on DM's Guild. I'm going to post the link in the Twitch chat, but go support them and go support other D&D, not all D&D stuff, but specifically third party.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. In my opinion, go support your third party creators. Go support your indie gamers and indie writers, because it's a hard world out there, and that's why we try to do this game of the week every week, is to highlight awesome writers that have really cool stuff out there. So let me post that link quick. Yeah, there's a Planescape archive. Yeah, go check it out. I really liked there was a class in there that they wrote that was the Eldritch Monk. But it basically, like, I just love the idea of like a Cthulhu themed monk warrior, and it just took like so many interesting things of like, what if a druid that was from like a plane that was all magic, what kind of circle would they be a part of? And it adds so many different questions and whimsy to this D&D world that just hasn't been explored yet. So go check out their book because it is fantastic. And they just released another book that is kind of like, I don't know if it's a sequel or it's a continuation, but they have the Planescape Heroes book that just came out today. So go check that out. Anyway, we're going to get into our main topic, which is house rules. I, for one, don't know how to play a game without house rules. Like, I think I would die if someone made me do rules as written for like anything. I just like my video games, I'm a modder and I will mod every single RPG that I play. So I guess what I would like to know, if we're like defining what a house rule is, like, what is a house rule?
Oh wow,
I
you're asking
was gonna
questions.
say, I would say this actually
We're gonna have
comes
the
up
hard ones
here because
today.
I had messaged you asking about this. Is the big thing as a house rule is like not already existing in the book, which I think is a big deal because more and more games have optional rules or rule settings. And
I think
those,
optional rules should count though as house rules.
I would say
because
they're
you
completely different from
could-
house rules. Because the big thing about house rules is you are trusting the judgment of the people at the table versus something that is definitely within line of the design of the game because it's being put out by the exact same people. Which I think there's a big
What if you made it a
difference.
house rule before you knew it was in the book?
Then that just means congratulations, you're probably pretty good at making house rules. But turns out, like, if you didn't know it was
Okay, I'll
in the
take
book, you're calling it a house rule. That's fine. But like, it's actually from the book. There's a big difference between that also and someone literally going, I'm taking these rules from the book that are optional, putting it here, and then just being like, typically players assuming that's the same as house rules.
Yeah, basically, I think house rules branch like a ton of things from like character creation to actually playing the game. So it is a very big umbrella for a lot of things. Even into adding in homebrew content, and the like of other things. But I guess as far as like, because I saw that message you wrote about the house rules versus optional rules and everything that works with that.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess for me, like, optional rules to me are just house rules they thought were so good that they want to make legit. So
I mean, I would argue
someone-
that there are certain very popular games that you can tell the optional rules are the rules the designers wanted versus the people paying
that
the
as well.
designers. So it's also like getting the director's cut, which definitely is not the same as house rules. I'm talking about D&D.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, we are an indie RPG channel. We don't have a ton of love for D&D, but they do have some fun stuff in it. But yeah, you can definitely tell where the designers wanted to do things and where certain things ended up. But that's why I mod the shit out of it, and then it's like my own creation. Just like you borrow things. But I guess when you're looking, and we're gonna use just like D&D for the example of this one, just because I think it's easier. It's what a lot of people know.
It's a
What are
touchstone.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
touchstone. But I guess what are qualities that you look for in your house rules? Like, when you're looking at house rules that you want to implement, what are like categories of things or things that are important to you to find in a house rule? Like what is, and I'll save the other question that I had for a little bit on, but I guess what qualities do you find best in a house rule?
I mean, I think it depends. It honestly is like which ones are bad. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
spot a bad one way sooner than like a good one. Like some DMs will do, like we talked about this last week, which wasn't a house rule, but like that there was a DM who didn't like bards, and it's like no bards in my game. Like that's,
Yeah.
I'll say it, that's a shitty house rule. Like that sucks.
My God, against bards.
Yeah, it's like I feel like house rules are really like you can misuse them really
Mm-hmm.
easily. Like a bad DM can, but there are some like really good ones that help, like a lot of them have to do with like how you roll dice, which I think are usually harmless, depending most of the time. Like
Yeah.
like if the house rules say you can't do something, I'd say like more often than not that's probably not a great house rule.
Especially
So
if when you ask why, it's I don't like it.
yeah,
Like if
yeah,
because there are some times where, let's be honest, especially when we're dealing with indie games and all, sometimes the games don't actually work perfect. The math wasn't quite
yeah,
right. And it's like, well,
yeah,
why do you not use that? Because it breaks here, 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 and here. And then you're like, oh,
yep.
okay, this is thought out.
Mhm.
There's a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah,
Even if I don't
yeah.
agree with you that those things are broken, maybe at least your rationale for it
Mhm.
makes it somewhat valid, no matter what.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. House rules that put like there's good limiting house rules, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
house rules that like there's limiting and there's controlling. If there's too much control in a house rule, that's not a good house rule in my opinion. Qualities that I like in a house rule, if the house rule was on a dating show and I was trying to figure out what house rule was best for me, I like house rules that either give players more options as far as survivability. I like house rules that help give a lot of player agency. So, as I've said, and I'll hold on to it for later, but basically things that will allow the player to excel where the dice have not as much help. Because there's certain things where the rogue is freaking fantastic on traps, and for the life of them, they can't roll above a 10 that game.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got like a plus 15. But if you roll a 2 every time and you're at a certain level that you're dealing with DC 20s on traps, you're not making them roll for traps all the time. This is
Yeah.
something they're supposed to be amazing at. So I like house rules that can help buff that out. It's also why in Monster of the Week, I love their luck system. That,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I don't want to take a
Yeah.
chance. I need to succeed this, so I'm gonna spend a thing of luck. It's an actual like almost like a transactional isn't the word, but I mean like you're basically saying I'm gonna spend some of this, and I know it might mess me up later, like way into the campaign, but this is so important that it's worth it to me. I like built-in things with that, and I think that you see differently in old games versus new games. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking like pre-2000s games versus games nowadays, is those type of rules that allow for more of like different narrative control, as well as more player options that aren't just like either you're going to be fucked by the dice or not, like to put it simply.
I
What
like
about you, Nikki?
I like all my house rules tend to be for fun. They're things that make the story more entertaining or the game more entertaining for the players, and it's like a yes and or a no but, and it's like always moving the story forward. Or it might be because I like having numbers for things. I like a lot of house rules that add statistics to or add stats to things that aren't normally statted. So a big one for me was Shadowrun has a loyalty and connection or contact rule for your people, and the loyalty is one thing, and then the other one determines something else. And I translated that to a D&D game so that people could keep track of how friendly they were with somebody, how likely are they to do something for you, instead of me being like, they kind of like you, and then have to remember exactly how much they like you. Just tell me the number, and then that will determine, yeah, they'll do it for you. They'll you can build that up. It's like building up your hearts in Stardew Valley, basically. So I really loved adding that as a house rule every time, and stealing things from other games that I like.
Yeah.
For sure. Moss, so I know you've played some games, but like if you're thinking of like when you're creating a character, what are things you wish you could do in games that you might not have always been able to do? Like if you could add anything or things like in the games that you played, what would you add to that character that isn't already in the rules?
I have an answer if Moss wants to think about it. I have one that I've been thinking about for a very long time. Sigil and Shadow, which I love. But the one thing I was obsessed with about Monster of the Week was that when you failed, you got experience points.
Mm-hmm.
So like even if you didn't do something, like you were still like moving forward in the game.
I didn't realize it was muted.
Oh. And Sigil and Shadow, I think, is I miss that aspect of like every time I fail, I don't get to do anything. I just fail.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to add something into Sigil and Shadow.
I would love to add something to add. It wouldn't be XP based, just because Sigil and Shadow like character growth is so much slower.
Yeah.
And more paced out. Because that's the thing about Monster of the Week is you also can end up leveling 2 or 3 times in a long session if things go really bad for you. So, but yeah, no, I fully agree with that. Finding something interesting to do with the failure, maybe even like it just, if you completely fail, you get a bone, which then makes the like maximum pool of bones matter more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like you don't get a bone if you failed after spending a bone on a reroll type thing. Like it's only if you fail on your first try.
Right.
And there, simple.
Yeah.
What if it was like for failing like with like doubles?
So when you crit fail,
it
gets super bad for you, but you get a bone. And maybe you can't. I mean, at that point, you just do.
We're just getting bones.
Well, the thing is with that, at that point, you could also kind of just do another homebrew thing, which is you just take a rule from one game and put it to the other, which I would actually add a rule from Savage Worlds where when you get snake eyes and crit fail, you can't spend a penny to reroll out of it. So we're like, if you crit fail, you get a bone, but you can never spend a bone to get out of a crit fail.
That actually brings me into the next question that I was going to ask is, like we've played a lot of different games, and the one like tip I usually have for house rules is borrow from other games, because if you mishmash a Frankenstein of a game together, you're going to create all the best parts of it. So I guess what are rules from other games that you have cut out and put into the game that you're playing, I guess?
I've apparently already read ahead and turned in my assignment, so.
You did. You usually do, Bobby. It's okay. It's very...
Yeah. I think Monster of the Week is just a really great system. Like, also being able to, I mean, like when you level up at a certain point, like you can completely switch your character's like class or playbook, and then you can still like take stuff from other playbooks at some point, which allows you to create like a completely unique class almost, which I'm obsessed with. I loved that aspect of Monster of the Week. And it's just
my flake spooky.
like it's so yeah, there's really no game like it because every character can be so different. And there are so many combinations that you can do. So I love it. Also, my dog farted in my face. Anyway.
I'm so sorry. I know that pain.
Nikki, you were saying something about Shadowrun?
So the thing I said earlier with Shadowrun, where I stole the loyalty connection system and made it D&D. I've also taken from Pathfinder and then like tweaked it to fit 5e because I used to run a lot of 5e games. Because the Pathfinder Ultimate Campaign is one of my favorite things that exists, but it's a little like I was just like, well, but what if I don't want to just throw money at the city. I want to create the city without having riches. Like, what does that look like? So I saw the concept and then made it different, I guess.
And just so, like, in case those that don't know the Shadowrun system, what is the loyalty companion rule that you're talking about?
So in Shadowrun, there is you have something called contacts, and each contact has loyalty or trying to pull it up so I don't like misspeak. Hold on. Loyalty and connection. So loyalty is how loyal are they to you? Are they going to turn you into the cops if someone comes in to ask about you and snitch on you, or are they? And then the connection is how good of a connection can they get you things? So like, can they get you that really fancy gun that you want, or do you not know them that well and they're not willing to risk their neck for it? So you slowly build that up by putting points into the player and like building a relationship in the story with the character in the NPC. And then you can use that later to get things in the game and get them to do things for you. Instead of having to like roll a persuasion check to convince them, you have a higher chance of doing so because you have been loyal to them and you've increased that chance. So what I did in D&D was I took it and made it to where when you use downtime to meet people, instead of finding 3 connections, because that's what downtime rules are, you get up to 3 points to spend and put into your connections or loyalty for your NPCs to build up that relationship. So it makes them more willing to do things for you to help you in your game.
That's awesome.
That's dope.
Shadowrun's very confusing though, so like I don't recommend it for newbies. Like super really confusing. So many dice,
like a lot.
So many rules.
There's a lot of
sure.
games like Shadowrun that are super dense and super complex, but have nuggets of rules. They're just really, really good for other games.
Mm-hmm.
Like Pathfinder 2 has design I think is absolutely brilliant, even though I don't like the game as a whole. There's pieces of it that are amazing to use in other games.
There's I haven't stolen it yet because I don't know how to, but Scum and Villainy has a fun thing in it where you have vices and you use that to de-stress, but if you use it too much, then you actually have negative consequences. So I've actually had character like you would roll a d6 or something and they're like, okay, I'm gonna do a gamble. I got 5. Cool, I have 1 more. And if you roll a 1, you're fine. But if you roll 2 through 6 because you only have 1 more point, you like screw it up somehow. So my character is like, I'm gonna go to my other vice, and then disappears for 2 weeks on a sexcapade, basically, because I rolled higher than a 1. Shocker. But it's fun to add stress to it and find methods to like decrease that stress, but also have consequences for doing it too much.
100%. One of the systems I've wanted to borrow from, but I haven't been able to kind of figure out how to do it. I think I have an idea for it. But it's the stress system from Alien RPG.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up when she was talking about our stuff. I'm like, I would use the Alien RPG stress system.
But in it, you basically accumulate stress dice, and it is a number of success system. So you roll your dice, however many successes you get. If you get certain number of successes, and correct me if I'm wrong, if they're on stress dice, certain things happen.
Yeah, it's
So
kind
Hunger
of
Dice?
it's kind of like messy. It's very much like Hunger Dice, and it's kind of like messy criticals, where there's because Alien RPG also uses like custom-y dice, where like you can look at a table for what the numbers mean, but they want you to use their dice type thing. But the stress dice have more of these like dangerous crit symbols on them, and they also have crit failure symbols on them. So they can swing it hard in either direction.
And I believe there's like a list too of like that you have to roll on a table to actually see like if it's like certain stress of like how your character reacts and the like.
Oh yeah, no.
But I really like that system.
Alien actually has another system in it that I want to use for everything, where they basically have like an AI for all of their xenomorph stat blocks, because it's just a table. Each monster has their own table of what they'll do each round, and you roll randomly for the actions that monster will take that round. And it gives each of the different types of xenomorphs very different attack patterns within the design itself, and you can just kind of run the monsters without worrying about it. It's really cool.
I really wanted to use that and like almost like using that as well as like creating like a wandering monster table for a Curse of Strahd campaign. Like that is like, I really want to run Curse of Strahd sometime soon, just because the one time I was trying to run it, life just didn't work out. But I have so many ideas from other games that I want to implement into like the Frankenstein of a game. And I know so many players have had so many issues with Curse of Strahd. Like by far, when I have read horror stories, the amount of times that I've read in a Curse of Strahd campaign is ridiculous.
That's also because Curse of Strahd is known as one of the best written modules for 5e. So a ton of people run it, which just means if a bunch of the games are Curse of Strahd, then a large number of the disasters will be during Curse of Strahd games.
Absolutely. I also think like the content of Curse of Strahd can be a magnet to problem players and problem GMs. That it is like you've got the best of both atrocities going on.
I will say, funny enough, when I made Lumiere, the intelligent candelabra, earlier, I immediately after finishing even said I want to put him in a Curse of Strahd game, because other than being an intelligent candelabra that can like float around, he only has one usable ability. He can cast daylight once, but it'll burn up his candles and kill him.
Oh, that is brilliant.
And I'm like, I want this in a Curse of Strahd game.
See, now I want to do, instead of Murder House, you go into like the Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
You have to deal with that as your first adventure.
Yes, please.
I'm actually running a like pseudo Curse of Strahd storyline where it's actually a revenant instead of a vampire, because they're way lower level. But I'm twisting it where this is gonna be spoilers for Nikki for the Saturday game. But
Bobby, you can't give spoilers to a game that people are in. What are you doing?
they reached the point where they're like, they've already made it to the actual village, and like that was the cliffhanger ending. So like within the first 5 minutes of the next session, they're going to get all this anyways, which is why I'm also okay with it. But basically, it's more kind of a Beauty and the Beast type situation. But the town was basically having a plague on it. And he made a deal with a dark entity, and the entire town got trapped in the Shadowfell. And they're having like, they have like a whole bubble with a crystal using soul energy, and they're having to like go siphon the energy off the mortal plane to keep their town alive.
That's fantastic.
I love it when the villain's not the villain.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my Saturday game have taken a side quest, and it was to clear out a mine of like supernatural threat. It turns out it was ghosts of workers who were trying to unionize and were killed by the mine owners, and they have now sided with the ghosts.
Fuck yeah.
That just reminds me, I just need to shout it out. If you haven't seen the oh my god, what is it called? It's the book, the Goddess books.
Mm-hmm.
They have the what's the other one?
I know exactly what you're talking about. The on something. I mean,
I know I have it. This is the problem with having a bad memory. I will find it. Uncaged.
Uh-huh.
Uncaged. Okay. So the Uncaged books, there's 4 volumes, I believe, and then there's also a Goddesses volume. But in those, they have stories with or short quests for D&D 5e, but every single one of them is a feminine-based monster who is not necessarily the bad guy. And I absolutely adore it because it adds a fun twist to keeping people on their toes to make them rethink that monsters are always evil. So like an example was a banshee comes screaming at you to get out of their house, and you find out later that they're actually trying to protect you from their dead husband who is trying to do an evil thing in the basement. And all they can do is protect you by keeping you out of the house. And people are like, this banshee needs to be just gotten rid of. And it's like, they're trying to save you.
I love that kind of stuff. That is the best. I guess other kind of house rules that I like. I've talked about my love of hero points, and I run it differently than in the book, so it is a house rule. I'm claiming it as my own. But where players accumulate hero points for doing cool shit during the session. Literally, of all the house rules I've implemented in my Sunday game, this is the one that my players love the most. Like, it is, they are bartering for hero points. They're like, if you like, if I just take a ton of damage, can I get another hero point? Like that kind of, like, they are constantly bartering for hero points because it's just so many times. Like the last session that we played, our cleric, who's like basically a mastermind, could not roll above a 10 like the entire time. So those hero points came in such in handy. And like there's so many times where the players like would have felt beat down through the session, and hero points came to save the day to make it so it was handleable, and like so the low rolls weren't as devastating. Last big question before we get into reading some house rules. How do we feel about critical hit / critical fumble tables? And as you guys are thinking about it, to explain to our audience that don't know what this is, critical hit tables and critical fumble tables are basically tables that a DM can write or get from other third-party stuff or Reddit, which I really, really suggest you not just taking it and putting it from Reddit, because some of those tables are really terrible. Basically, so they roll on a table and it tells you what the crit does or what the critical fail does. It can result in like another player character getting shot instead. If like the person critically fails, it could break a weapon. And depending on how high the number usually rolled is how good or how bad the crit fail is. And usually some numbers will have a range like 1 to 5, nothing happens, it's just a fail. It can happen that like you lose the rest of your turn. But I know that critical hit and critical fumble tables can sometimes be used in ways that can negatively affect players. But I'd like to know what you guys feel about that, because it is a divisive topic among TTRPG players.
So I've never used the table except for, I think, a Mech Warrior. But we did use the critical fail cards that were made for D&D. I think they were originally made for 3.5, but there's a critical fail and critical success card deck, and you draw the card, and it has like, if it's a ranged weapon, if it's a melee weapon, if it's a magic attack, what happens. And on a critical hit against my character lost their limb. And it, like, as long as you're aware that there are consequences that could happen and you're okay with that, then go for it, because it adds to the story. And now you have to like think of, okay, what am I going to do now? This character lost their arm and like we rolled to see if it was the dominant or non-dominant arm. It's like, how are they supposed to fight with the two-handed weapon? And you have to like think about this and recreate your character. But as long as everybody's okay with it, extreme measures, I think, are bad. But I do like the suggestion of you accidentally shoot your ally, because I use that one all the time.
Especially I use that constantly.
Yeah, if you crit fail and you're shooting towards your friends, sorry, you missed and hit your friend.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's one of those. I was actually going to bring up the deck too, because I had that same deck. I think a ton of people back in the day of 3.5 used the crit success and crit fumble decks, because they were really, really good. Then I kind of drifted away. What really ruined the tables for me for a while is actually the serious injuries table in 5e, because it is so random and it's not a weighted table in any way. So it's just, I believe it's 20 just different things that can happen. But the problem with those fumble tables, even more so than the success tables, is typically they'll never be perfect. And I felt like critical failures need to be very personal to the situation going on. So instead, I just started twisting the knife personally and coming up with things instead, just because the tables felt too random. And now I ask AI to give me a table of potential bad things to this very specific outcome, and tell my player to roll on the table so that they are in control of the horrible fate befalling them. But I'm evil, so...
No.
I mean...
Really?
Look, everyone has their own, like, as soon as you're in the DM chair, there's a part of your personality that changes. It's
yeah, you immediately are like, I'm gonna fuck with these people hardcore.
I won't fuck with people, but I will push them to their limits.
No, I will fuck with people. That's
I mean, fair, you don't need to be the DM to do that.
In the kindest way possible. Like, it's always it's with love. It's like I'm going to go after what you love, with love, DM. But add that to basically all of the terrible things I've done as a GM to my Sunday group, but they love it, so it's fine. Discuss a lot of house rules, and now I think it is time to chat about reading over some house rules and seeing what we think about it. So I wanted to start with Monster of the Week, just to highlight a more indie RPG before we get into D&D, because there's, in general, for my research, and I wasn't able to get a lot done for it. I usually do a lot more, but this week the struggle bus was hitting hard. So some interesting house rules that I was able to find.
You were riding the struggle bus this week.
Oh yeah, I was the driver. Our
Now-
wheels were coming off. It was a thing.
Are all of these house rules you're about to drop, are they like ones that you genuinely find interesting, or some of them just like horrible?
The D&D ones, some of them are just terrible.
Okay.
The Monster of the Week ones are actually ones I think would be really interesting. And
Okay, cool.
honestly, the ones that I found have been used in other actual plays. Like the Monster of the Week ones, honestly, there's like 4, I think, on the outside. And a lot of them have been used in an actual play. So like they're not terrible. But the D&D ones are like Reddit.
Great.
So
I just wanted to prepare myself.
yeah, no, the Monster of the Week ones are like clutch. I actually really like how they work. But our first one, which it is, so a lot of the ones I was able to find for Monster of the Week were from the Crit Show podcast. They actually released some of their different house rules that they use. And so we're gonna go over some of them. Starting out with the revised help out move. So help out usually in Monster of the Week is where you can give a player a like +1, but you can sometimes be at risk depending on what you roll to be in the same trouble if they fail. What this does, when a player uses the basic move help out on a 10+ roll, so the person that is giving that +1, the player who's being helped out gets a re-roll on their lowest d6 and takes the higher of the 2 rolls. So if they rolled a 4 and a 2, they get to re-roll the 2. If they then roll a 6, then they would take the 6 for a total roll of 8. Mixed success and failures are still the same as the original rules. So it just gives like a little bit of help. But what do we feel about it?
I like it. Only, but there is the only issue I have with it is that I think I broke Wednesday as a character by the end after 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Because Wednesday combined like multiple abilities to the point where if I ever helped out, I didn't even have to roll. You just automatically got a +2, no matter what.
Yeah, I think the big thing is removing. Does the +1 still happen on a mixed success? Because removing the +1 just is gonna interact badly with certain playbook abilities.
Also, advanced moves.
Yeah, and what does it do to the advanced move?
Yeah.
So there's no type of like addendums on those kind of issues. From what it sounds like is like this is affecting like when you roll the dice on how you're affected. So like you give the +1, and then if you exceed that cool check, you're also gonna make it so the other player can re-roll their lowest d6.
Okay.
If you get a mixed success, then you're still liable for whatever failures that they're gonna take. If you fail, yeah, you're getting it.
Okay. Yeah. So if it still does the +1, then a lot of the compatibility still works.
Yeah.
At which point I really like it. The only thing I would change is the math won't change at all if instead it's you roll 3d6 and take the 2 highest, which will just be faster than rolling 2d6, picking the lowest, picking it up, re-rolling it, remembering which of the 2 was the better number, then doing your math. Versus rolling 3, take the 2 highest, do your math.
And I think that was more so because the only way that someone can do that is if the other player makes that cool check and exceeds it.
Yeah.
So, or else they don't get that. But definitely, I like that. Like, if you just roll that, like a behind the scenes, just roll 3d6 if someone's helping out. And then the one that helped out is whether you can use that extra d6 or not. That definitely simplifies things. Moving on to our next thing, and this is actually something we use, but it is the Investigate a Mystery Revisited. So usually in Investigate a Mystery, you have a list of questions that you need to answer. Same with Read a Bad Situation. And in this case, what they do is that you can ask any question, that you want from either of these things, you get a number of questions. I think this is a pretty simple one. But
This one's actually really funny where it blurs the line between optional rule and house rule, because the expansion book came out and they made it an official optional rule, but it existed as a house rule first. But like, I think that's just how really good house rules end up going. If they get very popular, they fold in. Like a lot of games do that.
I will add, I do like the addendum that we made with the 12 plus on that one, where you just get a bit of information instead of you get an extra question. Because sometimes, like, I'm not necessarily going to know exactly what questions to ask. So it's just nice that if I get a 12 plus and I have the advanced move, that I know I'm going to get something that's useful no matter what, but then still get my questions.
Yeah, and I did also house rule on failures. We just stopped failing eventually because you guys were so good. And I love the house rule I did where if you fail, I'm going to tell you 2 pieces of information. One is a lie.
Oh, that's right.
And you have no idea, like, you're uncertain which one's true, which one's a lie. And typically, if I'm doing one that's a lie, it's because it's like, it's the opposite of this. This is going to hurt you.
Another one in the investigate a mystery, and this one comes from Reddit. They actually make a third move that is kind of, it's in the middle about the investigate a mystery and the
read a bad situation.
Because they felt that when they were playing, that they didn't have a good enough role for people to like notice something. So they created the notice something move that basically works like a perception check, and depending on how you roll, whether it's like mixed success or full success, it's you just get a piece of information. So that is their kind of addendum to that, but it's more so in the moment when you are checking things out instead of like you can tuck that question away.
I do like that. Insight and insight and notice, or like spot checks and stuff like that, are my favorite, because it's just like it gives you an extra little bit of information that just immerses you more into the story.
Yeah, as somebody who's run literally hundreds of sessions of Monsters of the Week, between this and other games and stuff, I can say I love that, because one of the things I was specifically looking for early on in Monster of the Week is how to do perception rolls, and to retrain myself, because Monster of the Week the game assumes you just find everything. Because I mean, this is getting a whole different thing of like tone of mechanics and all. Monster of the Week is not a mystery game played as written. It recreates mystery shows. And the thing about mystery and fiction is the solutions are always known. So you don't get the actual tension of mystery in Monster of the Week. It's more about the action and the adventure that the mystery is the framing of. So I love the rules that add stuff to, let you investigate when you have things like a playbook called The Investigator.
One moment, my dog is sincerely trying to pull my computer down.
Yeah, no, that one hit personally, because that brought up, and it was like a core memory in my head went off of like early Weird Web, where I'm like, I am so sick of never knowing what to do when people want to try and find things. How do I do this? And searching, and it was just like, oh, they just do. I mean, at least it wasn't a Spelljammer where there was an entire book set just to tell you, oh yeah, you just do.
Which is why you should definitely check out the Planar Archive, because it doesn't necessarily have ship monster. The picture it has, it's
great.
Fully like the pictures in this book are so good. Like, it's awesome. But what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna say a cool way that I found, and this is a recent thing, of if you actually want to run a legit mystery. It's from a TTRPG called the In Between, I think is the name of it. But
Mhm.
it is basically the RPG for solving a mystery.
Ooh.
And in it, you basically go through places and you discover a bunch of clues. And there's like 10 to 15 players have to come up with a storyline to fit all the clues. So there's no this is what happened written out. Your players come up with it and then they have to use the different hints that they got to aid in their role. So that's one thing you could do, is basically come up with a list of these hints or clues, and then have them make a straight 2d6 roll in Monster of the Week, and then for whatever clue that they use that they can explain on how it helped or hindered, or could explain the situation that was involved in, could add a +1. And you could do like maybe like up to 4 clues on that. And if they can find a way to use every single clue that actually makes sense in a storyline, that's what they get to add to their 2d6 roll. Ugh, words are hard. Next up is one of the things I found interesting is in Monster of the Week, you normally don't talk about gear or gearing up or prepping for a mystery. You just kind of have a before the mystery and then as you're investigating it. So this actually comes up with a way to gear, and they have a gear points basically rule on the crit show. So this is written at the end of your mystery. Take hunters through the end of session questions as usual. In addition to the experience points awarded, each question answered with a yes awards 2 gear points to each hunter. Gear points can be spent to acquire a new weapon, armor, or vehicles according to the price schedule below. Gear purchases should take place between mysteries as well, unless there is a narrative justification to support mid-session acquisitions. So they have a whole written out thing of how it works. Standard weapons in general cost 1 gear point plus 1 gear point for how much damage you want it to inflict. So like if you wanted a dagger that could do 1 point of damage, it would be 2 gear points. They have gear point costs for cars and magical armor, tactical gear, but this is a way that if you want to gear up your people, you want to have fun, like if that is an aspect that your players like to do, this is a written rule for how to do it. What do you guys think of it?
I remember when they added that to
Alright.
Crit Show, and I really like that because like there's been a lot of groups where that would be very good for keeping certain players happy and entertained. Like it just so happens Weird Web was not the kind of game where that would matter at all. But there are a lot of Weird Web games where those rules are super useful.
I think it could be interesting, but having never played in a Monster of the Week game that doesn't, or that has to have a particular set of gear necessarily, that I couldn't just go get, I can't imagine it as well in action. But I know that, and I do like using that same concept in other games that I've seen, where it's like you can only get this thing from a specific place or person, and it has to make sense. You had to have gotten it beforehand or in between the missions. It doesn't make sense for you to like go buy arrows if you're like in D&D, for example. It doesn't make sense to go buy arrows when you're in the middle of the forest because you ran out and didn't think ahead.
Absolutely. Our last Monster of the Week question before we go on break, or not question, sorry, house rule
Mm-hmm.
is rolling for luck. This is also seen on Crit Show, but when something should be left up to fate, the weather, traffic, cell reception, like remembering something in your bag, that kind of a thing. The keeper will ask you to roll luck. Your luck is 2d6 plus half of your remaining luck points rounded down. So if you have 6 luck points left, you would get to add +3 to your roll. And then there is the breakdown of outcomes. So on a 10 plus, the stars align and things go exactly how you need it to go. So the weather is sunny. You have cell reception. You have that piece of equipment that you almost forgot to bring, but luckily something in the back of your mind remembered to bring it along. 7 to 9 luck is not on your side, but neither is it against you. Things are not laid out in your perfect scenario, but neither are they laid out in a way that will negatively impact your planned actions. And then on a miss, fate is against you. There is sun when you need rain, bad traffic when you're in a hurry, and only AA batteries when you need AAA. What do we think of that?
I really like that because that gives more, like, of course, like luck is a finite resource, but that gives more of a, as you use luck, more bad things are likely to happen, which I really like.
I like that rule so much. Early seasons of Weird Web, we used that rule. I've had you guys make luck rolls.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yep.
I think so. I think I
Not with
remember
the
us doing it
same-
for end of season 1 when we were doing the zoo, the
Yep.
abandoned zoo episode. I think it was around there.
I think it wasn't with the same, like, had to do with luck points.
No, I actually would ask you what is your how many luck points do you have, and then what was I would just tell you to roll 2d6, and I did the math.
Oh, okay.
That's why I have no idea what you're fucking talking about.
Because I needed to know how the luck would favor you guys. So I was doing it based on how many luck points you had, which the luck roll I knew about because Crit Show, Rev from Crit Show's been on projects I've done and stuff. So I was aware of them, and I really like that rule. I like a lot of the rules they use.
But when we come back from break, we will be discussing our RPG horror stories. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys in 10 minutes. See you later.
Last week was a really good cliffhanger. Do we just want to do Disney trivia? Because this ain't happening.
How dare you? No, I want to play the game. I want to play the game.
We are here. We got this. Let's go.
You're a time traveling corpse?
I apparently.
That is awesome.
Now this one wasn't me.
It's not our fault.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
He is so excited and is bouncing so much. Like, there's so much excited bouncing.
Obviously, everyone's into anarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot be.
He's so cool.
My world is crumbling around me.
Nice to meet you and explode with you.
I suppose that is nice, yes.
Might have better.
Fuck you.
I knew we weren't gonna get off scot-free from murdering someone.
Yeah.
Tear my seams apart for you. You tell me every little lie is true. Oh yeah. But I listen to the heartbeat on the floor. I feel loud every breath just like before. You can't take it anymore. Where you gonna go tonight? Why don't you wanna wait it out? I don't know what you're running for. All you wanna do is fight. Why don't you wanna make it right? You don't know what you're running for. What you running for? We don't know what we're running for. I miss when we were teenage girls and our tomboy t-shirts. When life was good and the worn-out sneakers. When we were fine about the complications. Those were the days in the tomboy t-shirts. The information superhighway. The information superhighway. Newcom. Nice of you to join us.
When average teenager Arthur Padrone finds out he's the reincarnation of King Arthur of Camelot, he, Merlin, and Lancelot go on a road trip to find the other Knights of the Round Table before danger catches up to them in this comedy fiction podcast. Listen to Friday Night Fights wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness.
right, mics are hot.
Hot.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Struggle Bus. I'm Mary, your resident nerd on wheels, and tonight we're talking about house rules, TTRPG horror stories, and our personal RPG horror stories. Let's get into the thick of it. This is our fun point of the hour. We've done all the business stuff, talking about rules and the like. Now it's time to bitch. So, I guess who would like to go first in this catharsis of talking about our RPG horror stories?
If anyone tells a story about me, I swear to God.
So there's this one game that I played in.
So there's this character called
Kermit Mustard Gods.
So I think
character that will live in infamy.
You just need a shirt that's just "Hello, my name is Kermit Mustard Gonzo."
My name is Kermit.
You killed my campaign. Prepare to die.
God.
I have a couple or a bunch. I think the one that stands out though the most is I played in a D&D game with a couple. The wife was the DM and her husband played as the stereotypical power-hungry min-maxed broken rogue, elf rogue, every time. That was very emo every time. And he was such a nightmare to play with. And at first I didn't realize just how bad he was to play with until he started like sneaking off from the party because we weren't doing what he wanted us to do. So I started purposefully doing things to piss him off because I'm petty like that. So he would sneak off because he's gonna go do the task because we're taking our time. I'm like, you guys want ice cream? It looks like the guy disappeared again. It's gonna be a bit before he gets back. So you want ice cream? We should go shopping. And we literally spent an entire day just shopping. And he just got pissy. But one day his wife decided that she wanted to try a salt game. Or just salt? I don't know how to say it. And for those who don't know what that means, it's where you play two classes at the same time, so you're very powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's just Stalt, by the way.
Just Stalt, okay.
Oh yeah.
So you could play a druid and a paladin or whatever at the same exact time, and you level both of them up at the same time. So even though you're level 5, you're technically level 10. And I was like, you know what, this could be interesting because we could play with this power hungry player, but be on equal levels at least. Until he started trying to tell us how to play the game, like how to build our characters so he would fit into the story better. And he was like arguing with me and the other female player. He was the only male. There's 2 males or 3 women. And he kept arguing. And when I said no, he'd go to the other person. And when she would say, and then we were talking the entire time. And he just got pissy. Well, it doesn't make sense that my character's here. I'm like, we can make it make sense. The DM gave you an option. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. No. And he got so mad that he deleted the server that we were on to play the game. And then later, because I kept pissing him off, by the way, he never failed a roll ever, except when he had to make a wisdom check to not attack his friends.
Well,
he failed those ones, kept failing that one. Magically.
Huh, I wonder why.
Real weird.
That's crazy.
But he left because he said I turned his Lord of the Rings game into a Monty Python game, and I said, welcome to every D&D game.
Yeah, like, what do you want?
Also, he was like super controlling, and like there was other reasons I didn't like him, but I was the only one that would stand up to him in the game because I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'm just gonna do this to spite you now.
Yeah.
Dude's playing the wrong game.
The game got so much better when he left.
There's like there's so many Lord of the Rings games. You can just go play.
Yeah.
That don't make the people around you miserable.
Yeah. He just wanted a super serious game and we didn't. And I'm like, and what's funny is the day that he said that was the day I was like, look, I had a really bad day. Can we just have a goofy game today? Like I had a really shitty day. I just want to have like some laughs. And the DM's like, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll have some fun. And that's the day he got busy. And I'm like, bye.
Yeah, this is why setting expectations is important, and why resetting expectations if things aren't like this is it just goes back to like fundamentals. Also the don't be a dick mentality. Don't tell people how to play their characters. Like it just don't do it. Don't be that guy. I guess that was a very good one, Nikki.
I guess that was a very good one.
That was
Back to the round table. Acting round table.
I can keep going, but I'll let somebody else go next.
You have pleased me. Let us clap for her. Let us clap for Nikki.
golf clap.
Just do hand.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, spirit fingers.
No,
well, no,
it's,
this is how you
death
in ASL.
Yeah.
clapping.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yep.
I
You
thought
can't
people-
hear clapping, so
I thought
Yeah.
people were being ableist when they said, let's do death clapping. I was unaware that it really was, in fact.
Mhm. It's basically jazz hands.
Well, that's
Yeah.
egg on my face, guys. Sorry.
Hey, you're learning, and that's best. And you're awesome. So don't worry.
you.
Everyone gets things wrong sometimes. We're people.
man.
It's how it works.
I feel
But
bad.
does anyone else want to share their TTRPG horror story?
Bobby, share the most recent one. Share the most recent one.
Which one?
Oh my god.
The one for the Sigil of Shadow.
Oh
Oh
god.
my god, is this about me?
No.
Do it.
What?
But it was
No.
so fun.
I ended up with
Thrown after that. Oh man.
Oh, it made me reconsider whether or not I want to keep GMing for human beings anymore.
Was this us?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't have brought it up if it was us.
No. I had a Sigil and Shadow tutorial game up on Start Playing, because I do paid games on Start Playing and stuff. Should check it out. You know, the channel's actually supposed to be sponsored by Start Playing. Like we're ambassadors for the website. But I got one player because Sigil and Shadow is like as indie as it gets, just about. I'm not even gonna get into like the character he tries to make and stuff. Coming first of all with like discussing. First, it was discussing like this is a game to learn the game, to make characters and stuff, and comes as like, yeah, I already have a character. I've played in like 4 other games, but it's never really worked out. Red flags.
Yeah.
Like
Gee,
just
I wonder why.
Without even getting into the stuff of the character and dealing with that, the adventure is actually the adventure I wrote for that is what inspired the current adventure you guys are on in Sigil and Shadow. But it was that like I generated up essentially there's like this abandoned town, and I kind of have him like it's a very edgelordy I'm looking for power kind of character. So I'm like, you got to note that like someone wants to speak to you in this town, doesn't exist on maps and stuff. And gets in there, the town's abandoned and everything. And is like, all right, I'm going to leave. But I was like, there's no roads that lead to town or anything. They're all destroyed and all that. Like, how'd you even get here? He's like, oh, I hiked here. All right, hike back. Gets lost in the woods. And like rolls her, like the meta of the character even is like, you know, you just got lost in the woods. You got turned around. You end up back in the town. It's like, oh, well, I can't leave the town. You said there's woods around the town. Yeah, I'm gonna light the woods on fire. Like light a fire. No, I'm gonna light the whole woods on fire. I'm like, that's not how any of that works. Well, either someone will see the smoke or the forest will burn away. I'm like, you are an idiot. That is a snippet of the entire session.
Oh my god.
Also, I can't believe you just skipped over this character. Tell us more about the character.
I do want to know about the character.
Oh, it's a
I'm muted. You got to tell us a little bit without breaking Twitch TOS.
yeah.
So.
There was stuff that like it was a shadowed. That is the consumption one. And it's like, well, what do you have to consume? He's like, I'm a doctor and I consume hearts. But then later was trying to be like, well, bugs have hearts. I'm going to eat a bunch of flies for my spell. I'm like, no. You pick no.
I don't think they do.
Immediately, again, a game that's supposed to be like teaching people how to play for the first time and stuff, and was like, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to town and I'm going to make a bunch of healing potions using this batch rule in the book. I'm like, this is not the game for you, and you know this is not the game for you.
Yeah.
It was actually very close to remind me very much of a player from a different horror story, which is the paladin that table flipped a game over 3 points of damage. But someone who very much wants to be a min-maxer and is like the shittiest kind of min-maxer, but also bad at min-maxing because they don't comprehend the rules correctly.
Oh my god. Fuck, dude.
Yeah, that's a yikes.
And there were no other players. It was just me and this one person in a session. It literally, I was like, I don't think I want to GM anymore.
Did you get paid at least?
Yes.
Okay.
Not enough. Not enough.
Nothing would be enough for that. How long was it? Was it just 90 minutes? Or?
I did. It was only like an hour and a half.
Oh, thank God. Like 3 hours.
It was supposed to be like
Edgelord.
2 hours, but I was like, oh, you did so good. You got through the adventure way faster than I had planned.
That just reminds me of a horror story that almost was, because I got messaged on Start Playing to run a game.
Oh boy.
And so I don't know anime terms very well.
No. Oh God.
No,
No, Nikki, no.
And so he messages me, this man, for a 1-player game, like just him.
Oh, I know
says,
this story.
You do. And he says he wants to play a Ichi Action Harem game, which I don't know what it means. So I'm not aware what it means yet. I messaged my husband at the time and I'm like, hey, what does this mean? And he gives some examples of animes that doesn't help me in any form of way. He's like,
if you are a child who has somehow gotten this far into the show, first of all, you shouldn't have. But second of all, do not look any of this up.
No, don't look any of this up.
Absolutely not.
So the red flag though to me in the writing was I thought I picked you because you were a female, so you could do a lot of different female voices. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Wait, what? That's red flags, alerts. Keith, what the fuck does this mean? So I learned what action harems are, which is everything I'm against.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm fine with polyamory because it's basically just like one man and a bunch of women. That's great. But I don't like the concept of they just like him because he's the protagonist and they're just going to fall all over him. It's like, so you just want to pay me to flirt with you in different character voices?
There's other websites for that, bud.
Yeah. So I told him, like, I don't think I would be the right fit for you. I was very respectful about it. I was like, I would want to charge $200 a session minimum just to think about it. But I did ask a friend who runs an OnlyFans account who is also a D&D player, and she might do it. So good luck. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
He didn't respond for some reason. It's really weird.
Oh.
I mean, you wouldn't do it for $10 a session?
No, 200 minimum. Because like that's the whole thing. Is like the whole point of Start Playing is you get 4 players, so you can get paid what you should get paid for a full game. If I'm only have 1 player, I'm gonna charge you for the cost of 4 players. If I'm gonna have to put up with your shit for the same time, I still deserve the same hourly pay.
It's like renting a room somewhere. Even if it's only 1 person, you're still taking up a time slot of that thing, and you should pay the person what they should be paid.
Also, because we're saying a lot of horror stories about Start Playing and we want to be on good terms, we also have good successful games on Start Playing. I'm running a Start Playing
so
campaign.
Many fantastic stories.
In fact, why don't I say this is why you should go to Start Playing instead of Roll20. Like, we love Roll20 for what it is, but if you're just going for like your first game, I would say your first ever TTRPG game, go through somewhere with Start Playing, get that free session from Start Playing, because it's going to put you on a better track than starting with a random Roll20 game. Now, Roll20 is a great tabletop for like GMs. I use it, but if you're looking for a really good gaming group, I've been lucky to find certain ones that have been pretty good to okay, but there's a lot of horror stories. So most of the ones I have, I would have to like rethink everything that happened to make sure I wouldn't break the Twitch terms of service, because like that's how bad they were. But the one I will talk about is how every fandom under the sun was added to a D&D game. It was the first one I ever played. Of course, me going into it, I'm like, I'm gonna play Sorcerer, the hardest class possible, because that's what Mary Brain did at the time. And they were like, really? This is your first class? I'm like, yeah, why? They're like, you literally chose one of the hardest classes. I'm like, it's fine, it's fun. So we get into it. There is already a DMPC going into it. We've got a Drow assassin edgelord DMPC right off the bat. We're trying to go save the world. With how things led, basically, whenever we got to a new zone, there was a new fandom involved.
I need more information.
So, for example, like, we were going, like, let's say we were trying to get people together to go to the Underdark to stop it. We would go to a bar, and then, like, the cast of Star Trek would be there.
No.
Oh my god, no. It's like an 8th grade fan fiction.
Like, if you go in wanting that kind of game, that can be so much fun. But you really got to be on board for it. I mean, like I said, I made an intelligent magic item that is just Lumiere. That's all he is. I made him vaguely French because immediately everyone asked if he was gonna be French.
Yeah.
But
well, technically, I said if he's not French, I'll be sad.
Literally in the stat block I'd already copied, the name was written Lumiere before that was even said.
But like, so like at first it was, at least if you didn't know like the like secret nickname or things, like you could get away with, oh, you created it, and then you learn later, I'm like, oh, that's just another word for Azeroth. Okay. Like it was things like that. So at first it was hidden. It was like, these are really cool characters, like this is really cool. And then the deeper in we got, the more explicit it became until finally the mob bosses from Shadowrun, plus this, we had a Star Trek ship in the Underdark with a holodeck that we had to go steal from like a Death Star that again is in the Underdark to get a laser fire sword. And then we had to also deal with like the different like Red Riding Hood hunters in this one anime that I can't think of the name of, but it basically became, we were players in a fanfic. And like nothing we did mattered, But it was just the idea that we had a limo with an orc mob boss next to the Death Star, next to the Star Trek Enterprise, all trying to battle this Armageddon scenario.
I think
in
that's just a
5e
tone
fantasy game.
and expectations mix match. Like 14-year-old me would love that game.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's not a tabletop game. That's the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate
Well,
Destiny.
yeah, they're basic. They're trying to make Player One, Ready Player One. Like that's basically what they're doing with D&D. Like there are a bunch of people. Because to be fair, also like if you're new to DMing and stuff, everybody like constant advice is just steal. This is just a person who did not know how to use that seasoning correctly. Or well, also sound like a big DM NPC problem more than anything, which it sounds like that's more the problem than the references. Unless you're advertising a serious tone game, at which point, you advertise the wrong game.
A classic fantasy adventure. Like it was supposed to be player involved fantasy adventure.
That is classic D&D, not classic fantasy.
We had AT-ATs like trying to like stop the demon web pits while a limo with like a pop-up machine gun was also shooting.
Again, for the right table, that is amazing.
That sounds awesome. For the
but
right,
if you're going and expecting Lord of the Rings,
Newgrounds the campaign.
And it started like in like you meet at a tavern. Like that's how it started.
Yeah.
It was like how it started, how it's going.
It's a
was
DM that has no
mean.
restraint, essentially.
None.
Like that's what it really is. Which that is one of those things where like that could become a good DM if they were to hone and like mature and get better. But that's only one sliver of it, and it's sounding like awful.
After the game, literally the group of us just stayed in the chat. And we were just silent. And like, keep in mind, this was a 6-month campaign.
Yeah.
Like, this was not short. This was
God.
a weekly 6-month campaign. And we were just like, what just happened? Because keep in mind, like, I remember like our last session, I had just gotten home from the hospital. And I was like excited. I'm like, I got home in time. I'm gonna play the game. I'm like passing out in the middle of it. And luckily for like my friends at the time, like we've like fallen out of friendship since then, but they were just like helping me out through the entire game because I was not doing well. And they were like, Mary, like, why the hell are you here? You shouldn't have come. Like, you didn't deserve this. At the end of it, I was very appreciative. But then it started one of the players was like, you know what? We love our characters too much. We're gonna start our own home game. And it created an awesome home game. That was like my real, I would say, good first D&D game.
That's amazing.
It's all about finding that fit.
How come every bad story?
And then we all hated each other like 3 years later. But you know, it happens.
It just made me think of another bad one.
Go for it.
Y'all want to hear about the prison cop DM?
Yes.
Oh, God.
So
that descriptor.
I'll see how much I can remember because it wasn't a great time of my life. It was before I found this channel. And I had found I think I found the game through a Discord server for a system that uses avatars for D&D, basically. And it was supposed to be like it was advertised as an isekai game, so you know the Ultimate Showdown of the Ultimate Destiny game would have worked if it had been advertised like that. Instead, it was like there was this existing world, and we were going to be playing in it, and we were that's what the isekai is. And so I was the only person in that campaign that knew what an isekai was. So I was the only one, like, I'm sitting here with my character, like, yeah, my character has real world knowledge. Okay. that didn't go over well. I was playing a slime character that was dealing with racism. That might have been transphobia. Didn't catch it right away. That the it wasn't just because I was a slime. It's because they weren't down with the they them. But like this, the final game that I was in, as we were waiting for everybody to get in, one of the players was actively a prison cop, and was talking about how a fun time that happened was something horrific. People losing eyeballs and stuff. And the GM mentions that he wants to be a prison cop when he's done with college. And everything clicks that like the later, because in that game we've got some like thing that we were given by somebody. It was very vague. This is not great story retelling. This was like 6 months ago. We were given something and we were supposed to protect it. So we get up in front of this like lord and he's like, yeah, just give it to me. And everybody's like, just gonna give it to this guy. And I'm like, I don't trust this guy. Why are we giving this thing that we've been told to protect to this random dude who's acting extremely fascist right now? Guess why? And my character was a barbarian.
Oh God.
And so I raged because I was also being racist / transphobic at. It was not great. One of the players literally left. I was like, I'm not giving it to him. And they were just like, just do what he says. And so my character started calling them all bootlickers.
Fuck yeah.
I started like going up. I'm just like, no. And they're like, I'm like, your character's not stupid. Don't be stupid. I'm like, first of all, my character might have high intelligence, but they have shit for wisdom. Do you not know what the difference is? Like, if my character dies at this point, I'm just like, I'm trying to get the fuck out of here. This dude wants to be a prison cop. Like, I'm getting this very like GM versus player vibe. It's not great. Like, attempts to like communicate aren't going great. It was just, I had a panic attack and just left. There was more, but I don't know how much of it I remember and how much of it I can say. But they were joking about gassing people, and I think it was like Rosh Hashanah on that day, and one of the players was Jewish, and I was like, dude, you can't just do that.
Oh my God.
Dude, it was fuck. I was probably would have given up on TTRPGs had I not found you guys. That's how bad that was. There's other DM that just like left the group, the call, because I asked if the Aarakocras were hot.
Okay, well that's a valid question though, were they?
And then they're like, is that a real question? And I'm like, I don't understand. What do you mean? They're a player race. Why are you being racist?
Oh my God.
They were lifting my character muscles.
Oh my God, that's hot. You didn't even need to ask though. That's
right. They were carrying us up to this like whale pirate castle. I don't know. There's like a whale in the sky that pirates lived on. So I looked, and then I'm like, first of all, I have to explain Hatful boyfriend, and then they just leave the call. It's not a video call too, so we don't know that they're mad at us. Like, they just leave the call. And then we look in the chat, like, and they're like, if I come back to the call, are we gonna stay on topic? And this game was supposed to be a found family pirates game.
Jesus.
And it was just getting mad railroaded. Like we could not, like my character was supposed to like look for gossip everywhere, and like I was like, okay, play my ocarina and listen for gossip, and they're like, you hear none. In a tavern, no gossip.
Oh my god!
Come on, seriously, what are we even doing here?
Oh fuck! That reminds me. This is a horror story, but not like a. It was a horror story for me at the time, but it was a complete misunderstanding, and to this day, I still laugh about it. And it was like, we were doing, we were playing Masks, and our DM that day was just like really tired. And he had like told us that he was like, yeah, I'm still down to play. We're still gonna have fun. Like, I'm just tired. And we were like, okay, yeah, cool. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but we were doing bits for like a really long time, which is what we usually do in that game. But like our DM was just tired, so he wasn't like doing the bits. And what had happened was his Wi-Fi went down. But at one point right before it went down, he said something like, oh my god, hold on, like it was just, I don't remember what it was, but it was like very much like, can you guys shut up for a second, let me figure this out, like let me think or something. And so it was like he was still on the call, but he was like silent, and then he suddenly like left the call, and we were all like, what do we do? Like it was like, it was a perfect series. It was a perfect series of events where it was like, we fucked up too much. Like we ruined his game. He's like off. Like he needed to just like leave the chat and calm down. And he like we were texting him like, we're sorry. Like we didn't mean to. Like, can you talk to us? And like, of course he would like read the messages, but he couldn't respond because like his Wi-Fi was messed up. And so we thought he was leaving us on red and everything. And it was like the worst hour of our lives. We were all just sitting there. And we like, all of us players were like, well, what are we gonna do about this? Because like it was like not just a game, like it was a podcast, like it was a stream thing. And we were like, what do we do? And then he finally came in after an hour. He's like, sorry guys, my Wi-Fi went down. What was going on? And we were like, fuck. It was the first time
for that.
Honestly, it was the first time I had a panic attack like since I started being medicated. Like it was insane. I felt so bad, but it was to this day we still call it like the lost episode because we never released anything. We completely started over. We were like halfway through an episode and we were like, we're not doing this. We're doing something completely different, alternate timeline.
Jesus. This psychological horror episode.
It really was. It was like everything just lined up so perfectly for it to make us feel like shit. Yeah.
I love it. That is horrifying, and
it was
just
so bad, man. So bad.
Holy
crap. That was like the one that sticks out to me. I think I've told this on this channel before, when I was doing a charity thing, and it was 4 hours long, and I had never met any of these people, but they were all in like the TTRPG community, and the DM, like it was a one shot. It was a 4-hour one shot, and the DM didn't know how to play the game. Like I like at one point I was like, he said something like the like the goblins like put up a like a tower made out of like mud or something, and they're climbing up to your level, and I was like, can I use shatter on the tower? And he was like, no. And I was like, why not? And he's like, well, it's inorganic. And I was like, wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. What do you mean? And he just like would not let me do this move because it would completely fuck up his plans.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just making excuses the whole time. And I was like, okay, whatever, I won't do it. And then like it was a lot of combat, and he didn't know how to do initiative, and I guess he didn't write down the initiative order, because we would all do a turn and then it would just be silent for, no joke, like 3 straight minutes, because he wouldn't be like, okay, next person, or it would be like an NPC's turn and he wouldn't do shit. We would have to remind him.
Yeah.
And it was just like 4 hours of awkward silence. It was horrible. I felt so bad.
So I have a short story or a long story.
I want both.
So, short story. This is how I got a guy kicked out of a gaming store.
Okay.
Love it. Ready?
So there's a guy, for background, who went to the gaming store, and anybody can join your game if you get permission if they get permission.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy, we were like, yeah, sure, you can play, whatever, no big deal. Nobody knows him.
Mm-hmm.
And he metagames like a motherfucker, which is irritating as all hell. It's to the point where he's like in a different room, and he comes in and goes, "What did you find in there?" When somebody found something and put it in their backpack, and he's like, "Nothing." I'm like, "No, I'm sure you found something. What'd you find?" Like, I didn't find anything. It's like, and then even when the DM's like, roll blah blah blah, he'd still like metagame it. And it got really, really annoying. But that's not the worst part. The part that got him kicked out of the store was, at this point, my husband and I were starting to discuss the process of adoption. And I mentioned at the table that we went to our first like foster care class and and we were going to have to take all these classes, and then we were going to look at foster care kids. And he's like, "Why are you adopting?" I'm like, "Oh, because I can't have kids, and I just don't really want to try to go through that medical battle." He's like, "But why can't you have kids?"
Oh my god.
And like every guy at the
table,
table, like I'm the only girl at this table. Every guy's like, "You don't just ask someone why they can't have kids." Yeah. And he's like, "No, but why can't you have kids?" He like asked me 4 times.
Dude.
And I'm just like, I'm gonna get up here and I'm just gonna go.
Nope.
So I got up and I went to talk to the owner. I'm like, "Hey, is there something you can do about this? Because I don't feel comfortable right this second." And found out by the time I got back to the table that the DM had already kicked him out of the game, and then the owner kicked him out of the store. Because he was oblivious to why like that question was upsetting. Even we're like, you can't ask that, and like you could see that it was upsetting me very easily.
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm not gonna explain that," and he just like kept pushing. I'm like, "No, I'm done."
Oh my god, dude.
The longer one wasn't that like horrendous in that sense. But it was an online game where we played for like 6 or 7 hours every week, I think. Literally just constantly playing. And I was the only player that showed up every single week for the entire session. I was never late. I never missed a session. And I never left early. There was a hurricane coming one time. And no. This was when COVID started. So COVID started, so the store started closing down earlier. This is when like Walmart, the 24-hour Walmarts were closing at like 8 p.m. And our game didn't end until 9, and we needed water because there was a hurricane coming and it was COVID. So I switched to my phone, got in the car with my husband, and we left to go to Walmart to get water. I was still listening. I was still playing. I was still talking. But then I found out you can't roll anything on Roll20 on your phone on the app. It won't let you. So he said roll initiative. I said, "Hey, can someone roll initiative for me? I can't roll on my app." This DM went off on me for 20 minutes about how it was irresponsible of me to leave in the middle of a session. Why can't I play? Blah, 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 blah. Like, went the fuck off on me because I asked him to roll a d20 for me. And, like, I waited till he was done, and I waited till the end of the game, and I said, I'm just going to say this game isn't for me anymore. The fact that you just went off on me and bitched about me like you've bitched about everybody else at this table, which I told in front of everybody else. When I have been the only person that has not missed any days and the only person who's shown up for every game and stayed the entire time. And the one time I don't even leave early, I just make it slightly inconvenient for you so I can go get water to survive a hurricane. Yes, snap at me. I'm not playing with anymore. And he got so mad he kicked me out instantly of the server. So I had friends in the server telling me he was blowing the fuck up and what was happening. I was like, I'm like, okay, this is great. This is fantastic.
Oh my god. Just a recap here. I want to double check. Has any of these stories that we've told so far been about anyone who wasn't a man?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
I was gonna say, I have like
the one of them sorry.
No, you're fine.
I did tell a story about somebody who is not a man.
There we go.
That's true. Okay.
But no,
representation.
I have 2 mini horror stories because like there's not a lot to say to them. One I could make a lot longer, but it would then be really long. One is more of an RPG thriller story, as it wasn't an explosion, but as I watched a player who had been a player for me for like 3 years before this just get red pilled over the course of 6 months. And then completely explode because a message wasn't answered within like a day, saying I'm like purposefully ignoring them and disrespecting it. Like, just total psychotic behavior. And it started as like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of doing research on like a setting that's all about conspiracy theories. Oh yeah, I've been trolling people on the flat earth forums. And I'm like, oh, this is not going well. Oh, this is...
It's like right-wing
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's red pill.
I was like, my brain went to the Matrix, and I'm just like, I don't know what this reference is.
Here's the thing.
Part of it.
The Matrix, that is a analogy, the metaphor for being trans.
Yes.
And
oh, is it really?
The red pillars,
yeah.
I did not know that.
Are a little edge.
I've never seen it.
You think that choosing the red pill means that you realize that racist things
are actually true. Your mind is blown. Yeah.
And like space lasers or some shit.
Oh.
But my other mini horror story that could be a longer one is the paladin that table flipped over 3 damage and like completely at the table cussed me out and everything. Like that's its own horror story, but saying like how I'm the worst GM ever and all of this. Mutual friends 6 months later were like, yeah, so he started running a game and he's just entirely using your setting. Like he's using this set piece and this set piece and this set piece and that set piece.
I do have a female horror story. So the same game with the guy who was the edgelord who like disappeared and I went and got ice cream. So the female, his wife was the DM, and I will say she was a fantastic DM, wonderful storyteller. I wish she was a better person.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yep. So the first red flag was, and this isn't me, before I say anything, this isn't me judging anyone's religion or anything like that. First red flag, though, was she's very religious and very Christian. And she was talking about how her husband, she wants to leave her husband, but she can't because God won't let her. And we're like, you're in an abusive relationship. Girl, you need to get out. You need to get the fuck out. And she's like, no, God wouldn't put me here.
Probably in an abusive relationship with God, too, so.
Probably.
Yeah.
She's like, no, God wouldn't put me in this situation if he didn't think I could handle it and I needed to, and we made a vow and blah 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 blah
What
blah.
did I just say?
And I'm like, look, okay, you do you, but like you should get out. So then it turns to I won't go into specifics because politics, but it was a specific political time.
No, we're there. We're with
we
you.
Gotcha.
And all of us were very one side. And she comes in the call. We're talking before the game even starts, and we're just, I think, like a state just got. It was like when the last two states were going back and forth, and we were waiting to see who was going to win. And the one state just got turned to blue, and we're like, oh hey, cool, we got this da, da, da. And we were just talking
flashbacks, but yes,
this,
go on.
She comes and goes, what are you talking about? We're like, oh, we're talking about this. And they're like, and then she goes on a tyrant about, I don't like to bring politics into the table because last time I did, and I said I voted for person, Cheeto face. She all my players didn't want to play anymore for some reason, and they just stopped playing in my game, and the game failed. So I just don't bring politics up anymore.
I wonder why.
And I'm like, weird. That's real weird.
I stopped letting people know I'm awful.
And the final straw was when I was talking about being poly at the table on, again, not in the middle of the game. I wasn't interrupting the game. And she just goes, oh, so how's everybody else's week going? Like after I'm talking, and just completely cuts me off and ignores everything I just said to change the subject instantly. And I'm like, and the entire time I'm messaging the one other player and I'm like, should I leave? I think I should leave. I don't like this game. I should just leave. What the fuck? And when I left was when I came and joined Weird Web. Because I moved the game to where I said I could only play 7 and 9, so I could join Weird Web.
Yes.
And eventually I just left that game because I was tired of playing from 7 and 9 being fucking miserable and then coming to Weird. But that's why I originally didn't join the first episode, was because I was like, I'm in a game already on Fridays. And I really liked the character. I did ask if I could go to the very last session they ever have, just so I could like have the closure for my character. So I did get invited to that. So that was cool. It was very lackluster and everything. I was just like,
that reminds me, the game with the Aarakocras, that GM, the reason I did actually leave was not because of that, because I really wanted to play Havoc, but it was because they were Mormon and also a school teacher, and talking about how they hated a child so much that the other teachers were talking about locking a first grader in a room. I went off and then left.
Yeah. That tracks.
Yeah. So I have two. I have one from me GMing for a player that I think it could simply be put, my player rage quit because I wouldn't give them a Holy Avenger at level 5.
I know that story.
I remember this as well, but please tell it again.
Yes.
So this is a they had just gotten out of their first like level 1 through 4 adventure. They were getting to the big city, like in the storyline, where there was a bunch of like politics going on. But this one character, since the beginning of the damn campaign, has been asking me, and keep in mind he's a paladin warlock. They're very low level, asking me, so when can I get a Holy Avenger? And I'm like, well, it's going to be a very long time, because that's for those that don't know, Holy Avenger is like a legendary weapon in D&D for paladins. It is like, it's like a keyblade in
Excalibur-y.
It's Excalibur. It's basically Excalibur, but for paladins.
Yeah.
So he's been asking me for this item over and over, and I'm telling him, no, you don't find it in any of these shops. You don't find it here. You don't find it there. Like,
he thought he's gonna find it in a store.
In the loot box. It's not in the treasure chest. So this is happening over and over and over. I'm getting tired of
Looking
it.
for
And
this
this
in
is
like
when
a level 1 dungeon.
right, they're level 5 at this point. They've found this underground school where children that were being taken. There was kind of like a what is the folklore tale of the guy that like plays the flute, and then all the rats from town
Pied
follow him
Piper?
out.
A Pied
Pied
Piper.
Piper.
I'm
It was like
muted.
a
Pied
Pied
Piper.
Piper story, but a ghost. So they had figured out where all the children were being taken at this point. They rescued them, and like they got a bunch of money. So they were like, okay, we're now allowed into, because they had done so much, they basically, because this town was so sectioned off because of stupid politics and political behavior that they were slowly dismantling. They were allowed into like basically the higher end area of the city, where there were a lot more shops with more diverse items. And one of the shops I had planned had higher level items. So like think like Cloak of Displacement, or like a +1 weapon. Like those they are higher level, not necessarily as high as I'd want to give at the level that they were at. But there was some sort of negative quality about them, which is why they were so cheap. So it's like, you can have this item this early, but there's a drawback to it. Like cost reward type thing that they could pay for, because all the other things were like way out of their price range. He goes to this shopkeeper and asks, do you have a Holy Avenger?
What'd you say?
This is where I went a little wrong. And I'm a little quippy at times. And I should have handled this better. But I was really tired. And so I said, nope, we just sold the last one yesterday.
I love that though.
This guy, so angry. Like, are you serious? And I'm like, yep, you should have been here yesterday. We would have been able to sell you one, but nope, it's gone. Rage quit.
The implication that there's more than one in this game too.
Right? Like that should be like a warning sign that this isn't an actual Holy Avenger, but like whatever, we're just gonna forget about that.
Little
So then he rage quits the call, and I get spammed messages of like, why are you so mean to me? Like, why? I was asking for something that I wanted for a very long time, and then you just dangled it in front of my face and yoinked it away. Like basically, like, you're such an awful GM, like, and I'm like, well, if you don't like it, there's the door. And he's like, okay, I'm going. And it's like they're standing at the door, like, look, this could all be resolved with one item.
Yeah. Bye.
And I'm like,
yeah, that door, please close it.
There's like 5 more messages after that is like, I'm leaving, like that full on. This is an online game.
Yeah. What's funny is
This
that
is all through
person,
Discord.
the saddest thing is that person, that mentality may have been because of one of the worst design choices 4th edition made. Because they put, by the rules of 4th edition, they put all the magic items in the player's handbook. And the players were supposed to write out what magic items they wanted and to give them as lists to the DM.
Like,
there are things in 4th edition I really
but
like, and there's stuff
you're
that's
gonna get it. Like, I'm not giving you one of the most powerful magic items when you can barely lift it. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, come on. But he was already doing some weird stuff, so I'm like, nah, you're gone. I'm sorry, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore.
When your God determines you're worthy, you can have one.
Yeah. I mean,
hit level 20.
What I love to do with that is actually, I think I've said this before. I've done it with a Holy Avenger, but I give them a haunted sword, and I have the most goody 2-shoe, annoyingly lawful good paladin ghost tied to it that will pester them to no fucking end about everything. And I am just what they are to me, I become to them until they get rid or change.
That's fantastic. My second story is why you should never trust a problem character slash, and I mean, this was a problem player, and I knew better before I did this, with 100,000 platinum, or like it was 10,000 platinum. I entrusted them with a simple job because I wasn't allowed to enter the city because of reasons in the campaign. Like, I would be killed if I entered the city. So
Does
I'm
it
like,
have
okay.
to do with your magic being stored in a necklace you're wearing?
No. There's no. This is it. It is entirely to do with healing potions. So I'm like, here's 10,000 platinum, 100,000 gold pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to go buy superior and better potions. We have a deal with this guy. He's making them for us. You just have to go and pick them up. And now, keep in mind, Mary Brain thought I said superior or better, but I was also on pain medication. So I just said, go get healing potions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
a single
no.
player would be like, if it's that many
Yeah.
money, I'm going to get good ones.
No.
So I'm in disguise, go into the city, we finish up our stuff, we're trying to leave really quickly, and I'm like, okay, where are the healing potions? They're in the bottom of our airship. What?
2,000 of them?
Yeah, he got 2,000 motherfucking regular ass
Healing potions are 50 gold a pop. I did the math.
Crates. We saw them.
New
loading
campaign. You guys sell medicine.
Actually,
Socialized medicine in a fantasy world.
We were outlaws. We were trying to basically this terrible thing was taking over the city. We were trying to get supplies because we wouldn't be able to come back until we fully like brought our armies to the city door. And
then you just took all their potions.
10,000 platinum.
How did the town even have 2,000 healing potions? The entire town. Welcome to being evil characters. We own every healing potion in the town. They're now 100 gold each.
Big Pharma.
I
That's
literally
the Big
was
Pharma
like,
game.
guys,
now.
I'm gonna lose my shit if I don't leave for 5 minutes. Like, I will lose my fucking shit. Like, I am not an angry person. But I will say things that I will regret if I don't leave right this instant.
That's
so I
fucking valid.
left for 10 minutes.
Yeah. My God.
Came back. This is where like a GM would be like, all right, this is a joke, but like let's go back and like get the right healing potion. It's a funny prank. Haha. Nope. We weren't allowed to sell back any of the healing potions.
I will say that I have done that before in the sense of like, oh no, you said it, therefore it happened. But it took a lot to get to that point as a GM. It's especially, it was usually like the annoying people who like go into the room and go, I cast Fireball instantly every time. And I'm like, okay, go ahead, roll. They're like, what? Go ahead and roll. What do you mean? Like, you said you were going to cast Fireball. Go ahead and cast Fireball into the fucking straw hut that you're looking into right now.
See, like, that's a player consequence.
Yeah.
This was just like a punishment. And keep
Oh,
in
yeah.
mind, this happened with the same DM. All of my like god awful Reddit tier horror stories are from one GM.
Fine.
I will say there's not much I can say of this story. Like, I can say one section of it, but he created a god assassin to come and kill us because we were succeeding too much.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed, and I've noticed this with a lot of the horror stories when it's the GM, it's mainly because of GMs that can't connect A to B, like can't rationale why they want, they can't make things make sense. They just do stuff. It doesn't have to connect. They're like, you can't do these things. Why? Because I don't have an alternative. That's a you problem. It's an inability to adapt or be combined with being unprepared.
Yeah, the last game that my ex ran, he literally changed rules on me during the game because I was winning. I guess. I did surviving. I rolled a 20 and got punished. There's reasons why I'm divorced now.
Mhm.
This is very I want to be a GM for the power mentality.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny is yes anding just gets you the most stuff. Like, Mary, your situation with the potions, you could, as me as a GM, I would be like, you can't undo it. First of all, you being mad at him is hilarious, and I'm just gonna watch this devolve. But B, I won't say you can't get refunded. You want to sell them back? Let's see if you make a loss or a profit. And now I get another session to prep my big thing because I can milk this for an entire adventure.
Well, I would be like, oh, that would be funny, but this player's mentality was
Yeah.
to punish every other player in the game.
Mhm.
So it was like he did this to everyone to fuck with us. It wasn't just a like, oh, this is a funny
that's
ha-ha
even
prank.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was someone was dumb, and the GM's like, well, no,
Yeah, I
dumb
was
dumb
like,
still stands.
I was worried. I was
On
like, I might
purpose.
accidentally do that, but
I'm
all
gonna
on
buy 100,000 gold worth of healing potions. How many does that get me, DM? But the thing is that would also easily be a DM that could have been like, how strong of potions? Like, so yeah, then when you're like, oh, basic, I want as many as I can. It's like either you're really dumb or you're an asshole.
No, it wasn't just like it was also his favorite catchphrase was, well, it's what my character would
No,
do.
fuck you.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I don't let
it
that
was-
phrase end. Fuck you.
Yep.
Yeah.
That GM has many stories. So many.
That phrase is not great unless you're using it for like it can be used appropriately.
Yes.
But it's used so
Rarely.
poorly all the time because I've said it before, but it's like with Karen, for example. I would always be like,
yeah, this
I
is
know-
dumb.
like, I know this is going to be really stupid, but it's really what Karen would do. She's not thinking straight. She's angry. She's going to throw
Yeah.
the fireball. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's not the right move, but it's what my character would do. Like, it's literally like
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I never hurt other players on purpose, I should say.
Yeah.
I never hurt other players on purpose or out of malicious content or malicious intent. And I had a point. There's a point. Like even when I had characters who would steal things from people, they would be like, "Oh, haha, you didn't have this locked down tight enough," and like would tell them the next day, and just be like, "Look what I found," and they would immediately tell on themselves and be like, "Here you go, have it back. You should put it in a better place," instead of just like stealing it.
Yeah, that's because you don't derive fun from ruining other people's fun.
I did once as a DM. It was very entertaining for me.
Well, we're talking about as a player. As a DM, it's a totally different situation.
Yeah. Well, the person said I couldn't hit him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah.
So I proved him wrong by putting something really strong up against them so I could hit him. And then I rolled a nat 20.
When I have someone who's like, you can't hit me, I just then put them in a situation where they lose the floor under themselves and they hit the ground.
I think the nat 20 is proof that the universe was on your side.
Yeah.
Well, this guy was playing a Warforged and he was like a paladin, I think, and had like buffs and everything. So he had like a 20-something bullshit armor.
Mm-hmm.
And like literally the only way I could hit him was with a natural 20 with a basilisk, which is ridiculous enough as it was. And then I got a natural 20. because he's like, haha, you can't hit me. I'm going to. He thought he could like bowling ball his way through a mountain basically because he was like a Warforged and had super high AC. I'm like, no. He's like, what if we get eagles that pick me up and like roll me? I'm like, I like Google how much Warforged weighs, and I'm like, you're wearing full plate? Yeah, no, they can't lift you. Sorry. So sorry.
I'm sorry, the mountains will not fall over like bowling.
Sits on your shoulder. It cannot lift you.
He's like, we'll just make an eagle. I'm like, the eagle can lift only this much weight. You are 500 pounds. Doesn't work. So sorry. Oh, also, instead of goblins, you're fighting a basilisk now. Okay, bye. Party, you can thank you, player.
Oh man. But I am
That's
afraid.
a war crime. It's collective punishment.
Only he got hurt.
Right.
Only the Warforged was hurt in the making of this. No, all right. I'm afraid our struggle bus has reached its destination. Everybody's got to get off. We got to go to bed. But we'll be back next week for a brand new episode. I think our goal is to talk about the alignment system. Oh boy, that's going to be interesting. And another reminder that if you're looking for an awesome third-party book, you should check out our game of the week, which is the Planescape Archive. It is available on the DM's Guild or Drive Through RPG. It's a wonderful book created by Matt Kimberlin. They have written such a magnificent story with their adventure. The classes are fun. Go check it out. It's a great time. But until next week, good luck with everything you have going on. And the struggle bus is always there